What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Hoops Laboratory podcast. As always, we've got the full host, everybody. You know, everyone's here. Myself, George, Jason, Justin, and Levin. How is everybody doing this fine morning? We've gotten a couple games in. We saw a couple interesting games last night, and we're going to be breaking those down for you guys. But of course, I want to go around and ask everybody how is everyone doing this fine Wednesday morning?
Doing great. The Lakers won.
I know you guys are probably over the moon about that one.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. We are there's just no way we're gonna be upset after the opening night win. It's been too few and far between.
Yeah. I think it was the first time that LeBron won a season opener with the Lakers. So
yeah, it was like didn't AD say something like this is the first time in a while that LeBron has like made history or something, and they actually won the game.
Yeah,
like him getting on the court with Bronny, which, you know, for all the conversation about that, it was still a cool moment. Like, it was still a really cool thing to see.
Yeah, and I think it was smart from JJ Redick to kind of do that in the first half and get out of the way, so that, you know, the narrative isn't that, oh, when is he going to play? Is he going to play this year and all that? So I think it was smart of them to get it out of the way.
Yeah, definitely. Get it out of the way. They did it when they had a lead. The lead didn't stay, obviously. It was a close game towards the end there, but they did it when they had a lead, and they didn't continue to force him onto the court. He played his 3 minutes, and the same thing with the younger guys, too, though. It wasn't like they were forcing Christie onto the court. He only played about 11 minutes, too. So,
yeah. And I think Connect played 15, so it wasn't much from the young guys minutes-wise. But all around, I think, you know, Redick kind of said this is the time for AD to take over, and this is his team now. And yesterday it worked. I think he took that Gobert matchup personally after Gobert won that depoy last year. And, we saw what a healthy AD can do when, you know, he's the main focus of that offense.
Yeah, he seemed like he took it very personally. And I love what Redick brought to the team, not only like kind of motivating and empowering AD there, but I thought he was just more motivational in general on the sidelines with his leadership. And whereas, you know, Darvin Ham, he would just be standing there with his hands in his pockets, kind of, you know, reading the room, and while his assistants kind of barked the orders, and the assistants kind of draw up plays or had the whiteboard doing this and that. But a couple times they had gone into the huddle, and you could see JJ, who's more of a keeping up morale and trying to tell the guys that the shots are going to start falling eventually. They didn't, but trying to keep their heads up about it. And I really enjoyed that part about his coaching. And there's still more to be determined. We're still going to have some games where it comes down to these decisions that he's going to have to make. Yesterday wasn't a lot of decisions he had to make. He kind of rolled with what was winning, and it was more of, like I said, motivational stuff on the sidelines. But once his tactical stuff starts to come in, then we'll really start to see what kind of effect Redick has on the Lakers here.
Well, they already looked energized. I mean, both on offense and defense, this team looked like it had a whole new energy. Because, hey, last year, I don't think we get this win against Minnesota. You know, Anthony Edwards played great, but the rest of the guys, the Lakers did a pretty good job on. Randall didn't really get going, you know. So if we can keep this up, if AD can keep playing at this MVP level, hey, the sky's the limit for this team. And I really liked what I saw from Dalton Connect, even in those 15 minutes. That's why I want to see him get more minutes, you know, as the season progresses. So we'll see.
Yeah, and I think a notable thing was, like, Austin Reeves was handling the ball at times too when D'Lo was off the court. So maybe you can run him at point and have Connect at the 2 at times as well. And then that one lineup he had with Gabe Vincent, I believe it was Reeves, Rui, LeBron, and AD. And they just went on a run. And no, actually, LeBron was on the bench.
Yeah.
It wasn't LeBron. I think it was – who was that? Maybe it was Connect.
I think, yeah, it was Connect.
And that lineup just was going crazy against Minnesota. But Minnesota, like, they didn't involve Randall much in the first half. He had like 4 shots, finished with 10, and 2 of them came late in the game. I thought we would see more Nasrid and Randall on the court at the same time. We didn't really see that. And even when Gobert was in to try and be the quote-unquote AD stopper, that didn't work. So they have a lot to figure out. I think they will. Rob Dillingham didn't see minutes, which I was surprised about. DiVincenzo, I think, top 3 for 11. Not going to happen every game. So they got a lot to figure out there, but I think they will eventually. But regardless, it was a big win for the Lakers.
Yeah, it was still a decent showing from the Timberwolves. It's not like they really got. It's not like the other game that we're going to end up talking about. They didn't get run off the court. And a couple things that I thought were interesting was kind of how they Finch distributed the minutes. We only saw Mike Conley out there, which I think we all know is a veteran presence. He's a leader in the locker room, leader on that team. He only got 20 minutes a run, and it's because he was pretty damn ineffective. Mm-hmm. Simple as that. He just was not good. And it was the same thing with McDaniels, who got only 15 minutes. It'll be interesting to see how they end up shaking out, who gets what minutes for that team. I, for one, would have loved to see a little bit more of Nasrid and Randall on the floor at the same time. Those are 2 pretty big bodies, and both can, shoot the ball effectively, as well as play in the mid-range and even the post with Randall. As for the Lakers, for me, I thought they played just a solid, a really solid game, kind of front to back. There were a couple shooting woes during, lows in that game, but the effort was there. There was a lot more energy than we really saw last season. And that to me, this is another team that it's going to be interesting to see how these minutes get distributed, because like for a guy like LeBron, who, at his age, when are we going to have to take the foot off the gas a little bit? I don't think we're expecting him to play 35 plus minutes a night every single night. I don't think that's sustainable, especially when we're looking at every starter on that team played almost 40 minutes. I just don't know how sustainable that is over the course of an 82 game stretch.
Yeah. No, I don't see him averaging 35.
If we're winning more, then LeBron's definitely be taking more time off. It's like last year when we would play a team like the Wolves, we would either lose or be close, or we would lose by a lot. And this year we won. Last year we would play a weaker team, and LeBron would need to play the entire game just to get us the win. And this year, if we're this close to Minnesota or beating Minnesota, hopefully we'll be a lot better off against those weaker teams. And then against those weaker teams is when LeBron can take the time off, not have to play the fourth quarters or the entire fourth quarters or all the way down the stretch all the time and get past the whatever threshold they don't want to get past, 30, 35 minutes, whatever it is, all the time. And so, yeah, I think it just comes down to how much the Lakers can put away these weaker teams.
Yeah.
Last year it was just the complete inability. It was like at every single game, whether it was the worst team in the league, it was Lakers having to close them out in the last 2-3 minutes, and can't do that again for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'm much more confident in JJ's rotations than Ham's. I mean, you saw Rui with that quick start, and Rui wasn't even starting, halfway through last season, which every Lakers fan was yelling at Ham, you got to get this guy in there. And, JJ did right off the bat. So I think we're in for a fun season. Yeah.
Yeah, and in the off season, Redick was saying that he was working with Rui, and he expects him to have a bigger role this year. So it was good to see him out there and really, carry that team in the first quarter, and then AD took off from there. And also Austin Reeves, just his hustle, getting those offensive rebounds. It was great to see.
He was everywhere. Really full stat line yesterday.
Yeah,
that's what we need.
The only guy I would say that struggled yesterday was D'Lo as a starter.
I was about to bring that up because we were talking about it, in the group chat, as we're watching the game, and I remember watching. I was like, man, he's just not like it's. It feels like the game is going a little bit too quick for him right now. It feels like he's not keeping up, and the stat line, even though he was on the court, plus 15, but the rest of his numbers kind of back that up.
Yeah.
Didn't get double digits in a single stat.
he started making some good passes there towards the second half. But it's just they're too far few and far between. And it's like some of the passes that he makes are so like a low percentage, and it's like, oh, don't throw that pass. And sometimes it's like, oh, it's an amazing pass, he made it through. But a lot of the times it's like, man, you're not Magic Johnson, you're D'Angelo Russell, so please stop acting like it.
Well, I think Lakers fans expect a lot from D'Lo because we've seen what he can be. We see the potential when he goes on these hot shooting streaks where he's hitting every three and making all these great passes. So we expect more from D'Lo, and I think he'll bring it next time. We'll see.
He's got to stay within himself, not trying to do too much. It's always if he tries to do too much, that's when he starts.
Yeah, and I think we saw a little bit of that from a couple different players on pretty much every team that played last night. I understand it's game 1 of the season. There's a lot of hype. There's a lot of emotion going into that. It's getting the adrenaline back down to a normal level. I mean, if we're looking at Minnesota, it was only a 7-point loss. It's not like this is some moratorium for the Timberwolves. They still played a pretty solid game, all things considered. DiVincenzo didn't have a great shooting night. I know we mentioned that. I'm for one very surprised that we didn't see Dillingham at all to kind of pick up some minutes running the point just to see what they've got against a team that looks like it's going to be a pretty strong team in the West.
Yeah, especially since most of their offense look like isolation with Anthony Edwards. Like you need some more offense and get the ball to Randall and get the ball to Dillingham. Yeah. They weren't getting the ball to Randall, and Dillingham didn't even play. So they got some things to work out there for sure.
And it seemed like the first couple of plays, at least, they were running plays for Edwards and Randall. And then that just stopped. And Edwards just had the ball constantly in his hands. Fourth quarter especially, it was just Edwards ISO. And, Edwards is a great player, but you're going to need a team effort to win games. I think they'll adjust. Obviously, it's just the first game. But just a rotation, too. Dillingham should be playing. Gobert should get less minutes. I think Naz Reid should be getting more than what he got yesterday, at least. So they got a lot to work on for that team to work.
Yeah, I think looking at that, especially with a guy like Naz Reid, as well as, we're saying that he should have more minutes. He played 26 minutes last night, and DiVincenzo played over 30. At what point do we look at what those guys bring in? Is it more valuable just to start them, or, is it that immediate impact off the bench? Yeah. A guy like, I hate to say it, but at what point are we going to see Mike Conley not start? And it's no disrespect to him because he's still a great defensive guard, but he's at an advanced age, for, what he does on the floor. And they've already limited his minutes over this game and last season. It seemed like they were pretty slowly weaning him off, playing 30 minutes, 25 minutes. Next thing you know, it's 22, and it's just like this is essentially a rotational piece that just happens to be in the starting lineup.
And it's unfortunate to see because, guys, fans love Conley and they want to see him succeed. But even if they bring him off the bench, the question becomes, if you're not starting Rob Dillingham, you're going to have Conley and Dillingham off the bench, unless Dillingham's not part of their rotation currently. It doesn't seem that way right now, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's definitely the conversation they're having behind closed doors today, and definitely going forward. It's because I don't think he was drafted with the thought, oh yeah, he's going to have to be the guy day one because of the rest of the team that they've got there. Like we all said, Anthony Edwards picked up. He played the most minutes at any player in this game. The fourth quarter, not even the fourth quarter alone, but especially in that fourth quarter, it seemed like is this just the Anthony Edwards show?
Yeah.
We understand he's a ball dominant guard, but at what point does it just not work?
Yeah.
I don't know. It could be worse. At least that game was exciting.
It was a really, really late trade, so you got to give them that. They're two really big pieces. They had to get rid of one really big piece in Karl Anthony Towns, and The Dillingham thing is another one they have to. I don't. That's the one thing I don't understand. They've had the whole offseason to figure out how to try to get him involved, and then no minutes in the first game.
And we even heard some hype about Leonard Miller and didn't see him either. So 9-man rotation is pretty tough for that team. I think we'll see adjustments made against the Kings tomorrow, but yeah, it was surprising to see those guys didn't play. Randall didn't get enough touches. And it was just, like you guys said, the Edwards show in the fourth.
Yeah, if there's a decline with Conley because of his age, that's going to be big for that team because they relied on him a lot, and it just makes it even more amazing that LeBron is still doing this at almost age 40 when you see so many guys in their 30s drop off.
Crazy.
I was just curious because I really wanted to double check. I was like, how old is Conley at this point? He's 37. It's not like we're talking about a guy who's 32, 33 starting to struggle, and he's also a smaller guard. He's not he's not LeBron, who's built like a tank. He's pretty lean.
Yeah. He played at Ohio State with Greg Oden.
Yeah, if that tells you anything.
Back then he was.
Oh, geez.
How many guards even make it to 37? Yeah.
Especially ones that are 6'1" and not, thick. Like he's maybe 180, 185 at most.
Yeah. Maybe like Chris Paul, Kyle Lowry. That's all I can think of off the top of my head.
Hey, now Kyle Lowry's got the body for it. He's built for this. I can't help it. It's every time he gets brought up. It just makes me think of all the memes from the playoffs last year of them bringing in Kyle Lowry. But at least this game was competitive because our earlier game of the night was not so much. It turned into a shooting gallery. Throughout this game, the Boston Celtics beat the New York Knicks 132-109, tie the record for most three points made in a game, and then spent the entire third and fourth quarter trying to overcome it and failed. Can we talk about how comical that was? It was hilarious.
Yeah. The last 3 minutes, they were just chucking up threes from anywhere and just trying to make it, and none of them fell. But great start for Jason Tatum yesterday.
Yeah.
That was incredible.
He was on fire.
But I think, Bridges had no points, no rebounds, and an assist after the first quarter and was minus 19. He'll get better, obviously, as the time goes on. It's a new team for him, too. But I'm not too concerned about the Knicks. I think they just have to figure out how to use Towns. He had 11 points yesterday. He'll get it going too. But it's a new team for most of those guys. Anunoby, he came last year but missed some time too. So they got to just get a feel for each other. And then Boston, they already, have everything in place over there, except for Porzingis not playing. So it was an impressive game for the Celtics, and the Knicks will figure it out.
This is what I'm starting to dislike about the NBA. It really doesn't matter kind of what type of team you put together or your coaching staff necessarily, because if a team goes out and hits 29 3-pointers in a game, you're going to lose. And it wasn't like the Knicks were playing what's the team that the Harlem Globetrotters goes against? The
Washington Generals.
They weren't playing like the Washington Generals and just letting them make every single shot. They were playing actual defense. It wasn't great defense, but they're playing actual defense.
Yeah,
29 3-pointers in a game. It's just kind of ridiculous. And I've always been a proponent of let's try to figure out a way to move this. Let's get rid of the corner three, or let's push back the three. At this point, I'm even willing to change the three to 2.5 points because how are you supposed to win a basketball game like that? I don't understand.
Tom Thibodeau must be losing his mind over there. There is such a thing as perimeter defense. You can't get up on a guy, and it seems like modern NBA guys. I don't know they lose track of their man too easily or something.
Switching, all the switching.
Yeah, the switching. You got to stay a guy who can shoot. Just playing the game, you got to stay on him. But
for what it's worth, though, with that, because I don't disagree by any means. I'm watching this game. I'm thinking, okay, obviously the one Nick who I saw who was, playing pretty tight perimeter defense is Anunoby, but that's his game. That's his bag. Everyone else, they're still going to have to work on that. I want to see more out of Bridges for that, which, for what that's worth, Bridges ended up with 16 points in the second half. Yeah. So it came back to him. He got a couple quick ones in a row, up under the rim. But we're talking about a team that the Knicks took a total of 30 3-point attempts. The Celtics attempted 61 3-point attempts, 95 total field goal attempts. And what makes it so hard sometimes defending a lot of these guys, especially a team like the Celtics, is when you've got Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Derek White. These guys aren't one-dimensional scorers. I mean, shoot, Jason Tatum shot 8 of 11 from 3. If you just try and take that away and he's able to get past you into the mid-range, he's still going to burn you. That's part of his game anyway. You can't just say, okay, we're going to take it with the perimeter and give him the lane, because he's still going to get to the rim, even if you've got your 5 down there. That's what makes the Celtics team, I think, still probably one of, if not the best, is all of these guys are such well-rounded players. It's hard just to say, okay, just lock down the perimeter and whatever else happens, because then it turns into, okay, cool, now they're Carmelo Anthonying us to death. Like that's, and they can do it. It's well within their bag for that.
I think it should be able to win more than one way, though, and it's just so hard to win by twos. You got to figure out something else. It's maybe like up to a certain amount of threes, and after that they only count as twos. Not like makes, like just attempts. Like you only allowed 30 attempts at threes, and then after that they're only twos. That was never going to happen, but
that feels like you're trying to ban the shift. That's kind of what that feels like.
Yeah. Hey, it worked.
Yeah. I just reviewed a documentary about the ABA, so you can thank the ABA for 3-pointers.
It's their fault. Okay.
It is. It is.
Got someone to blame.
You know what to hold my grudge against.
Yeah.
I think the one positive for New York yesterday was Miles McBride off the bench, just a spark off the bench. He finished with 22 points. He reminded me of kind of Lou Williams, 6-man of the year type of season. If he can come in and at least get 15 a game off that bench, I could see him getting 6-man possibly. It's just he might even slide into the starting spot. Who knows?
A lot of opportunities.
Injuries happen and all that. You never know.
Yeah, and this is something that I kind of found out somewhat later on. It was before the game, but later on in looking at how this game might end up going, it wouldn't shock me if at some point McBride does end up sliding up there and taking someone like Josh Hart's spot. Because from what I heard, and obviously Josh Hart, as anybody who is follows the NBA or at least follows the New York team, very unfiltered. He just says whatever comes to mind. Like after the game, he said, man, they got to drug test them guys. I ain't ever seen anything like this after hitting all those threes. But he also came out and said that with the new look lineup, his role is a lot less defined. He doesn't have or know nearly as much as to what he is supposed to be doing out there. Whereas a guy like McBride, if he slides up and plays the 2, it would be a lot more defined. Like what he brings to the table, the energy, the 3-point shooting, which he was 4 or 5 last night, the best 3-point shooting kind of on the team yesterday.
Yeah,
but it'll be interesting because if you push Hart to the bench, he's a lot more well-rounded. You can play him a couple different positions whenever he has to, come in. But then who's the backup 1? And that's kind of where the Knicks' depth is.
Well, they have that rookie.
Kolek.
Kolek.
Yeah, I want to see more minutes out of him. He only played 5-ish minutes. There are a couple things that I saw that I was like, oh great. I for whatever reason, because I didn't have many players playing on one of my fantasy teams, I had him in there. I'm like, well, he's going to either get me 1 point or no points because he had a couple turnovers and a couple things, but just rookie trying to get his things together. I don't dislike him. I think could end up being a steal because he was a second-round pick, and I loved what he did at Marquette.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they could run like a smaller guard combo like they do in Portland with Scoot and possibly Anthony Simons if he starts. That type of combo could work for the Knicks. It'll be difficult against taller guards, like let's say Trae Young's not the tallest, but Dyson Daniels playing shooting guard. I think he's about 6'7", so it'll be tougher against teams like that. But against most teams, I think they would fare out pretty well.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, you've got plenty of length between Bridges, Anunoby, and Towns. That's a lot of length on the court at one time.
Yeah. If you're the Knicks, you have to get McBride more minutes if he can continue this kind of shooting because he was the lone bright spot for a while there. And as I told you guys in the chat, I fell asleep for the second half. I was just so bored with this game.
I don't blame you.
Yeah,
it was bad. It was so bad. I was gonna say, I think for Justin's point there, it does just make for kind of boring basketball at times. Like it's the later game. Even though for me it was a lot later, and I think I ended up literally falling asleep during part of the fourth quarter, not because the game was bad, because it was at that point, damn near midnight. But the first game was a snooze. It, right out of the gate, I saw it and I was like, okay, they're scoring 43 points in the first quarter. This is not going to go so great.
And it sucks when those things happen in the playoffs too, because that just ruins a whole playoff game, and that's just one playoff game. You only got to win three more, and you got that series. And
it's a lot different than the NFL, where if a team's behind, the ref can make a difference if they need to.
Especially if that team happens to wear red and white. Excuse me.
Yeah,
we see that twice a year, so we know.
At least twice a year.
Well, no, with the Chargers.
Oh no, I know.
Oh yeah, and then every nationally televised game every week. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Every game that has a certain pop star in attendance.
Yeah.
No comments. I'll plead the fifth on that one. All right, guys. To wrap up, Jason, I know that you've got a couple betting lines. We're going to do a couple picks here for. We're going to have this out later today for tonight's slate of games, right, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure we've got a full slate going on.
10 games.
10-game slate. It's back. I love it, man. It's beautiful.
Almost got all the teams back in there now. So 20 teams played today, and then 4 yesterday. That's 24. We got
handful tomorrow to go, but still.
Yeah, tomorrow we'll finish it off, and everybody will play the game.
All right. Should I start?
Yeah, go ahead.
My first pick was Tobias Harris, 21.5 points plus rebounds, but I saw that he got bumped to 22.5. I don't know if I would take that at 22.5. But the alternative would be Kevin Durant, 5.5 rebounds. It's just too good of a line to pass up. He averaged 6.6 last season. Against the Clippers, there's going to be a lot of rebounding opportunities for him. So I like that pick.
Nice. My first one was I was going with Nick Richards, going with higher than 7 rebounds. Nick Richards just had really good fantasy games last year when Mark Williams didn't play, and Mark Williams iffy to play today. So even if he does, it's not a full complement of minutes. So let's go with Nick Richards there, over 7 rebounds. And I also liked either Zach Edey getting over 8 rebounds. I think that one's a lock with no Jaren Jackson going to be out there. So Zach Edey higher than 8 rebounds. And then also a bonus one, James Harden higher than 22.5 points. No Paul George, no Kawhi Leonard. Russell Westbrook's gone. A lot of opportunities for him to score. So I'm taking 22.5 on the over points for James Harden.
Sorry, I didn't realize we were doing more than one. But Jason, if you want, you can just type in the name. It'll be easier, I think. Right. If we're doing more than one, then another one I liked was Scoot Henderson, 19.5 points, rebounds, assists. I'm not sure if that one bumped or not. Yeah, he's at 20.5 now, or he's at 20. Yeah. I would still take that. I think he'll have a good amount of opportunities to score and dish out. And then lastly, LaMelo Ball, 7.5 assists. I think that number is too low as well. It'll be a fast-paced game against Houston. So I like that one as well, over.
I didn't see that one. 7.5. That's a good one. I like
it. Yeah, that's a good one.
What you got for us, Jason?
I'm looking at Ball here. The other Ball, Lonzo Ball, 2.5 rebounds. I would go over on that.
I'm surprised his over/under on points is set to only 5. I mean,
that's pretty low too.
They were preseason was any indication.
Yeah, you could go over on both. As long as he's out there, and it looks like he's going to be out there.
Yeah, I'm looking at Orlando and Miami, the Battle of Florida again. I'm looking at Paolo Banchero over 21.5. I don't know how they really slow him down other than a guy like Bam Adebayo, or it's 22.5 on this book. I'd still probably take the over on the 22.5. I think he's still their primary scorer, and I don't see much on the Heat other than Bam Adebayo who's going to be able to slow him down. And I want to say I saw who had it was good 3-point. What game was that? Sorry, I'm also looking through the slate over here. I think it was also a different Grizzlies bet. Can you pull up what Desmond Bane's page looks like? Yeah, the 3.5 3-pointers made. I would take the over on Desmond Bane hitting more than 3.5 threes in a game. I think that's plenty within the realm of possibility. That team is still trying to figure out, I think, what the offense is going to look like. They brought in essentially an offensive coordinator as an assistant coach for that team. So they're still trying to get that offense going, and I think Bane is going to be a beneficiary of some of the new spread offense.
What do you think about Jaw's 25.5 point line?
25.5. I would lean I would lean the over, but I don't know that that's something I would put a lot of money on.
Yeah.
He's still going to be, a lot of ISO for him. Actually, it looks like you can't bet that at all right now.
Oh, I took it off.
Yeah.
Probably, I could see it happening. It's certainly within the realm of possibility. He's still going to be an ISO machine. But it'll be I think they're still, like I said, trying to figure out how they're going to spread the ball around. I'm a little bit more intrigued by that assist number. 8 assists feels like a lot, but he is going to be their primary ball handler. And without a guy like Jaren Jackson because Jaren's one of the main guys on that roster who would, back the ball down to the rim last season. Without a guy like him on the floor, they should be able to spread it out a little bit more. I'd lean over on the assists.
Yeah, he's currently at negative 154 on FanDuel for 7.5 over.
Really?
So that would be a pretty good bet.
Yeah. Anything else come to mind, fellas? What we've got on our betting segment of the day? I think the Edey one, Justin.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really, really good one. I would for sure take that. It seems like he's going to try and play with a lot of assertiveness. It felt like in the preseason, especially the last couple of games. So that 8 rebounds, I would definitely take that over.
Yeah, I think that one's my lock.
Yeah.
For sure.
I was going to say also, Jaime Jaquez, I think, was at 11.5 points, rebounds, assists. That seems really low, especially if he sees about 20 minutes today. I
Yeah,
don't know
is that so low? Is the question going to be about his court time? Like, I don't.
They also lost Caleb Martin, so there's more minutes to go around at forward.
Yeah.
You can bang that up 11.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
Yeah.
If they're giving you that for all three, I would hammer that over for sure, because that feels almost disrespectful a little bit. You know, if we're expecting him to get the minutes that we are, especially
Right.
with that team losing a couple of their
And
he's
he scored over.
Oh yeah. What's the line on that 11.5?
Oh, the odds shifted on that one because I just took the over regularly on that one. Now they've added a multiplier. Let me check.
They're probably getting it. Like, some people are probably noticing it, getting in their bets for the day. I mean, for us in Central Time, we're hitting that 12:30 mark. People are going to lunch and probably, you know, doing a little sports betting over here, and probably getting some money on that. So they're gonna boost that and see what else, or if they can earn anything on that. But
yeah, DraftKings moved him to 12.5. Bet365 has him over negative 140. So I'm glad I took that early. And that's the thing with this kind of platform. Like, you have to take these picks early because a lot of them shift. And then later, if you guys take picks later in the day, my advice would be whatever picks you guys like. Let's say the Hawk has won 11.5, but it's a multiplier by then. Do a fantasy points. And then what I like doing is, like, on Prize Picks, they have fantasy points already listed in the morning. So yesterday, for example, they had AD at 52.5, but on Underdog it was 50. So I liked the 51. I took that, and it was going to hit regardless. But you never know. In a closer game, it might, it might make a difference, that discrepancy.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Cross-referencing those.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is like, you know, if you get a multiplier on one of those, or if you find ones where you get a better line somewhere else, or, you know, even later on in the day, parlay it. I mean, you know, just start stacking a couple of these, you know, layups you think into a parlay, and obviously get your money.
The good thing about Underdog this week is that they have 20% profit boost for the NBA season first week. So even if you go with that Hawkes 1.92x, that'll become just a regular bet. So that works too, because of the profit boost. So there are different ways to do it. It's just finding the right way for you to do it. But yeah, I like seeing the discrepancies in the several apps, not just Prize Picks and Underdog. There's also Better, Parlay Play, which I don't really use much, but there are just other apps you can go on to and take a look at those numbers.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's kind of what you have to do at this point. You know, at the end of the day, Vegas is always just trying to get one over on us. So you know,
like yesterday, perfect example. Yesterday, I took Nas Reed over, I think it was 11.5 points, and he had like 4 end of the first half. I was like, dude. But then I remembered Reed steps up in the second half more. So okay, maybe there's a chance. And then he had that corner 3 wide open. I was like, please. And then he hit it. So that cashed. But then Julius Randle fell 1 short points, rebounds, and 1 short points, rebounds, assists. And I was like, damn. Because that was 2 different slips. So that would have been a lot bigger. But
yeah.
That happens, yeah.
That's a bad beat.
Yeah.
That is a bad beat. I was going to say, we could always do that, you know, as a show the people, you know, do that as a segment every episode. Bad beats of the week. Show everyone, guys, look, we stink at this too. It's not just it's all of us.
I had one last week. $20 bet would have won me $500, but I needed the Texans to beat the Packers. And the whole game was just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. They made a last-second field goal with a kicker who had been there for a few days only. And they only got in a field goal range because of a penalty, and they made it an easier kick. And I was just –
that's a killer. That's a
it was like
dagger.
That bet was like one of the earlier bets in the bet, so it's not like I could have cashed it out. It was like the last bet I needed. But like once I went back and looked at it, that was the only one that missed, and it was just like,
gosh,
I
I need
had
to
so
see what
many
my
of those.
NFL one. Yeah, I don't know what my
Let's see
NFL
them.
one is going to look like this week. A couple weeks ago, what is it that Cowboys Giants Thursday night game? I had some really bad beats in that. Like I chose the under on Dak and hit it. I chose the over on Daniel Jones and hit it. I lost on Devin Singletary anytime touchdown.
Oh man.
I was like, bro, like if the Giants are moving the ball enough where Daniel Jones is throwing for like over 175, there's no way he doesn't score. Of course he doesn't score.
Yeah, Thursday night games I hate betting on. It just never hits. Always
No.
something goes wrong. It's low scoring, or you go under and they go over. It's just never.
Oh yeah,
hits.
like that. What game was that? That Atlanta Thursday night game a couple weeks ago, where everyone's like, "Oh, this game's gonna be pretty tight," and all of a sudden you're like, "Okay, both teams have scored 40, fantastic." Oh yeah, love it.
Yeah.
And it sets you up bad for the weekend. Like if you fail on a Thursday like that, you're like, "Oh, this is not going to be a good weekend,
Right.
guys."
Right, but good thing NBA's back because it's a little,
Every night.
yeah,
Time to throw the money away.
yeah. I feel like once like March, April hit, it kind of becomes unpredictable to NBA. But like especially in the beginning, it's a bit easier to get ahead with all these odds in our favor.
So make sure you're getting your slips in early season so that you have enough saved up to throw it away in the end of the year. All right, guys. Thank you all for tuning in to our second episode here at Hoops Laboratory. If you guys are watching on YouTube, which I assume you guys are, and not just following us on Twitter, please hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, and make sure you're hitting that notification bell so that you are notified every single time we have an upload or a live stream hit. This is a thank you from us, and we'll see you guys next time here at Hoops Laboratory for some more NBA action.